Hey, what's going on? This is Sports Truth, and I am your favorite host in the entire world, Jordan Harris. Today, we're going to be going over a couple of different things, but before we get into that, I want to say thank you to everybody who made the investment to subscribe to this channel. I appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you're wondering what the investment is, it's the simple click of a button, which is just below the video, that little button that says subscribe. That's all you gotta do is just push that button. Doesn't cost you any money. Doesn't cost you. You ain't gotta give blood or anything like that. All you gotta do is push the button, and you've contributed. You are part of the team. You are part of the truth seekers, as I call y'all. So we have met the 1,000 subscribers goal that we were wanting to meet. So I appreciate everybody who has subscribed. It typically takes people about 12. I think it's 12.5 to 13 months to do it. And we were able to do this in about 2.5 months. So thank y'all. I appreciate it. We're far, far ahead of schedule. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So I want to do two different things in this video today. First, we're going to go over each quarterback's. So I didn't really know if I wanted to call this a preview, a quarterback room preview, or a QB room prediction. But I just went ahead and went with predictions because I am going to make some predictions. So first I want to go over every quarterback's strengths and weakness. I want to go over each quarterback and talk about that because obviously it doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing. You have strengths and you have weaknesses. So we'll go over every quarterback. After that, I want to talk about I'm going to do some predictions. I'm going to predict who I think will be quarterback 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm not going to include Judd that's coming in, the freshman. I don't want to include him right now because I have no idea where he's going to be on the pecking order. So, again, first we'll go over strengths and weaknesses of each quarterback. After that, we'll go over the depth chart order, at least my prediction for that. Cool? So let's get into it. This is in no particular order, all right? So just going over strengths and weaknesses. This is in no particular order. I'm just doing this strengths and weaknesses right now. After that, we'll go in order. All right, so Jacurri Brown, his strengths, arm strength. The dude can throw the ball. Look like he can throw it about 70 yards sitting down. He can throw the ball far and throw the ball hard. Another strength of his is his mobility. The dude can run around people. He can run through people. He is a super athlete, and I'm sure y'all would agree to that, right? His weaknesses, what I've seen is his ability to read defenses. So the reason why I say this is because, like, watching the bowl game, if you remember, he threw an interception. I think it was in the first quarter or the second quarter. It was in the first half. But he threw an interception, like right between the numbers to one of the linebackers on the other team. And I think it's because he expected to see man-to-man everywhere, and they dropped back into a zone. And when one receiver ran a slant, he threw it to the receiver thinking that he beat his man, but they were in a zone, and he threw it right into the chest of a defender who was sitting in a zone. So that and a few other plays, obviously, but that's the one play that stood out that made me go, yeah, he probably needs a little bit more time as far as reading defenses go. But I think he made leaps and bounds as far as what he showed in this bowl game compared to what he showed the previous year. I think he improved tremendously. Another thing he needs to work on is his accuracy. It looks like his deep ball accuracy is pretty solid. He only threw a couple of those in this game. Like he threw the one to Jacoby George, which I thought Jacoby George should have caught it, but it was such a bad camera angle, and they didn't show any replays of it for whatever reason. So I really couldn't see just how close it was, but it looked like that one should have been caught. But yeah, his overall accuracy seems to be a weakness at this point, and we'd love to see some improvement in that. So let's talk about the next quarterback, Cam Ward. So his strengths, his ability to extend plays is probably going to be as me. I mean, how many teams are there? 128 teams or something like that? He'll probably be in the top 10 as far as quarterbacks who have the skill to extend plays. What I like about him is that, yeah, he is athletic, he can move, but he doesn't always look to run straight north every time. He and I know this sounds backwards because most people want running backs to run north. But when it comes to quarterbacks, I prefer my quarterback to run east and west while looking north. Does that make sense? So I like them to run left and right, not passing the line of scrimmage, run left and right, buy as much time as you possibly can, and then look down the field and see if anybody came open, because it's almost impossible to hold somebody as a cornerback. It's almost impossible to stay in front of a receiver for 4 or 5 seconds. So the more you extend the play, the more options you have to be able to throw deep balls down the field to a receiver that came uncovered. So his ability to extend plays, he's probably going to be top 5 or top 10 in the nation with that. Another thing that's a strength of his is his experience. He's played in a lot of games. He started out at Incarnate Word playing there, transferred to Washington State, played a lot of football there. But not only did he play a lot of football, like it's one thing to play in an organization and you start every game, but you're a run-heavy team and you do a lot of handing the ball off and then doing play-action passes every now and again. But if you look at Cam Ward, like he has experience throwing the ball 40 times in a game. You know, like he's not out there on time management. He's not out there on game management time. You know, like he's out there as a quarterback on a throw-happy team to win the game. He's not managing the game. He's out there to win the game. So I think that's really important experience to bring onto a team. If you think of a quarterback like what's his name, McCord, the Ohio State quarterback, like he was a game manager, and that's part of why I wasn't big on bringing him to the Hurricanes, is because I'm like, if he wasn't good enough to manage the game for Ohio State, he probably won't be able to be good enough to manage the game with the Hurricanes and win the whole thing. You know, so that was my mentality, was we need somebody who has more than just game management experience. We need somebody out there who's had experience being out there throwing the ball all game to win the game. So that's part of what his strengths is the experience. Another thing is I put balance on here. What I mean by balance is being able to throw the ball off balance, being able to throw it off your back foot, being able to be running to the left and somehow still throw it across your body, like that kind of thing. He's really good at that. Being able to play off schedule is what people typically call it. So that means like not just getting the snap, 1, 2, and then throwing it. He's able to stand back there, 1, 2, nobody's open. Okay, I'm going to look to the left. Oh, a defender's coming, let me step back and then throw it over this cornerback's head. So he's able to do that kind of thing. So his balance, excellent. Talk about his weaknesses. Now, if you know anything about Cam Ward, or if you've done any kind of research, you've heard about the fumbles. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions, but he did fumble the ball a lot last year. And those, it says turnovers on this. A lot of the times he fumbled, they recovered it, so it didn't count as turnovers. But he did fumble a lot last year. He averaged at least 1 fumble every game. I think he had 17 fumbles last year, if I remember correctly. So the fumbles, we got to get better at that. All right, move on to the next. Emry Williams, his strengths, leadership. So what I appreciated about him the most when he started the game this year against Florida State, the biggest difference that I noticed about him in comparing him to Tyler Van Dyke was Tyler Van Dyke's body language would drive me crazy. Like it would make me want to throw my remote through the TV. He would throw an interception, instantly his shoulders drop. He's just just waddling off the field and head down and going straight to the bench and just sit there, not say anything to anybody. It drives me crazy. But when I watched Emry Williams, he was over there high-fiving everybody, pumping people up. Even when he would throw a pass that I was like, oh, bruh. Like, even when he would do that, he would come to the sideline, and I would see him talking to the wide receivers on the sideline, probably telling them, my bad, I got you next time, G. So leadership skills seem like a real strength for Emry Williams. His weaknesses, when people compare Emry to Jacurri Brown, what people would always tell me, they would say, I want Emry to start because he can throw the ball. He's more accurate than Jacurri Brown. And I would say, did you not watch the Florida State game? Like, if you go back and watch that game again, there were a few passes. Now, that game was a lot closer than the score showed. It was like nip and tuck for a good while, and it seemed like it was just waiting on a hurricane to make a play. That's what it kept. It seemed like it was one Miami Hurricane offensive player play away from going to the Hurricanes' way. That's what it looked like to me. And time after time, it seemed like Emory would just miss on these passes, like these 5-yard slants on a 3rd and 4. He would just miss, you know. So I saw that maybe 4 or 5 times in that game. And then towards the end, I think he started to realize that he was missing, and that's why he started using his legs and running over people towards the end of the game, because he stopped trusting his arm. He stopped trusting his accuracy. He was missing open people. So accuracy is a weakness. His experience, obviously, that's a weakness because he hasn't played many games. And then he is a quarterback that needs to be on schedule. He needs to be able to say, okay, got the ball, my first read, 1, 2, here. Okay, he's not open, 1, 2, there. Okay, that read is not open, do something else with it. He needs to be right on schedule. If the play breaks down in any kind of way, he's not going to do well. So he has to be on schedule, bottom line. All right, let's talk about RPB. Some people are calling him the Poff. I've heard the Poff Father. I done heard every kind of nickname for him. I'm just going to call him RPB. Let's do that. Comment section, let me know what you're going to call him, okay? Are you going to go ahead and risk throwing the whole name out every time? Say, that Reese Poffenbarger is pretty good. Or are you just going to be like, RPB is pretty good? Or are you going to say, the Poff is pretty good? What's your name for Reese Poffenbarger? Curious to know that. All right, his strengths. The dude has heart. Just watching his games and stuff, it's obvious that he's got a chip on his shoulder. He talked about when he was in high school, how he was 5'9", I think it was. And I told y'all I was 5'2" in high school, and I grew up about a foot right before I got to college. Well, when I got to college. So I can relate to him. I can relate to the fact that he's got that chip on his shoulder. And he plays with that chip on his shoulder too. Another strength that he has is his deep throw accuracy. So not just the fact that he has accuracy, but he loves to throw the deep ball too. He throws the deep ball way more than anybody in the FCS this past season. And I mean way more. It wasn't even close. So not only did he throw more of those, but he also had more deep ball connections and completions. So that was real cool to see. Another thing that is a strength of his is that he is really athletic. If you just watch some of his games, he takes off and runs, and he is really fast. Like I don't know if I would say he was the fastest player on the field a lot of times, but he was up there. You know, he was running away from corners and running away from safeties and all that. So I thought that was pretty cool. There's also a video of him online with him playing basketball. Being 6'1", being able to do the dunks that he was doing on the basketball court. That was pretty impressive. Because I'm 6'3", and I can't get up. I can't do all that stuff. So I can respect it for sure. All right. Weaknesses, decision making. I talked about the deep throw accuracy. A lot of times he would have somebody open like 5 or 10 yards down the field. And he like, nah, I'm going for the 40-yarder. And he would just throw it way down the field. Sometimes to a defender who's going to catch it like a punt. You know what I'm saying? Just standing there waiting to catch it like a punt. So his decision-making definitely could be improved. You can't live and die by the long ball. I mean, it worked for the Golden State Warriors in basketball, but it doesn't work like that in football. So he's got to relax on it a little bit. Okay, so now let's go ahead. Now that we've gone over all 4 quarterbacks, their strengths and their weaknesses, now let's talk about what I think as far as predictions go. Where are these players going to fall on the depth chart? And I think this is probably where we're going to have the most conversation in the comment section. So let me know if you agree with the order that we're going to start with right now, which I doubt anybody's going to disagree with this. Cam Ward, he should be QB1. I think everybody's going to agree with that. So I'm not even going to spend much time on this. All right. I don't know how much they paid the man to come in and play QB1 for the Miami Hurricanes. But he better be quarterback one after all this stuff's going on. So let's go ahead and go to number 2. Who is number 2 on the depth chart? I think it's going to be Jacurri Brown. Reason being, and I know some of y'all are going to say, if Emry Williams beat Jacurri Brown out this past season, why do you automatically assume Jacurri Brown is number two now and Emry Williams is not number two? So let me explain that. So if you're a coach, let's say you're the head coach of the sorry Dallas Cowboys. Let's say you're the head coach of them. And you have Lamar Jackson, okay? Lamar Jackson is your starting quarterback for the Cowboys. And then you have the option of having Jacurri Brown as the backup, or you have the option of having Trent Dilfer as the backup. So let's say you have those two guys, Jacurri Brown or Trent Dilfer, but your starter is Lamar Jackson. Which quarterback would you prefer to have as your backup? If you know anything about anything, you would want Jacurri Brown as your backup. Why? Because he is the most similar to the starter. You want your backup, you want your QB2 to be an easy replacement for your QB1. That means in the offseason, you're making all of your plays, you're making all kind of plays in your playbook to cater to what the strengths of your QB1 is. So if your QB1 is mobile, if he can run the ball, if he's pretty good at a read option, if he's pretty good at passing out of a read option, if he's good at that kind of thing, then you need to make all of your plays suited to that. With that being said, if your starting quarterback goes down, God forbid, if your starting quarterback goes down, you want to be able to slide the QB2 in and not miss a beat, because all of the plays that you had for QB1, QB2 can run those just as well. So being that Emry Williams is not mobile, well, I'm not going to say he's not mobile, but he's not very mobile. He's not a dual threat quarterback. You wouldn't want to have him as the automatic replacement for somebody who is a dual threat quarterback. Does that make sense? So the fact that Emry, Jacurri, and probably RPB are really close to each other as far as who's number one between those three, the person that should be number one between those three should be the person that's the closest to your QB1 as far as resembling play styles. Hope that makes sense. That's the best way I can explain it. But if you have a QB1 that's a Peyton Manning type quarterback, then you wouldn't want Jacurri Brown as the backup. You would want Trent Dilfer as the backup because they are more similar in styles. And if Peyton Manning goes down, you can plug him in and he should be able to do almost the exact same type of stuff. And you wouldn't have to change the entire playbook. So that's why I think Jacurri Brown will end up being QB2 on this team. QB3, I think, is Reese Poffenbarger. The reason why, again, is because Reese is super, and people are like, how are you going to put Reese in front of Emry? Again, it's because he resembles the QB1 a lot more than Emry Williams does. So the playbook is going to cater to Reese far more than it would Emry Williams. That's my thought on this. I do think that Reese and Jacurri's race is going to be super close. Like, it's almost going to be a QB2A and QB2B. That's what I think. It's going to be real close like that. But I think Jacurri's going to edge him out just based on having a head start on the playbook, because he knew the playbook from last year. The offensive coordinator's coming back. A lot of it should be the same, especially terminology and all that stuff. So I think that Jacurri will have the upper hand on that just because he's got a whole year on learning the playbook. So I think Jacurri will get the nod over Reese when it comes to that. Emry Williams, I think, is going to be 4. I also am predicting that Emry will redshirt this year. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where he's on the sideline not suited up. Like, I think he's going to do the same thing that Jacurri Brown did this past season, where he's on the sideline, he's suited up, looks like he could go in there and play if he wants to, but he's just not going to. I don't think Emory is going to play at all. I don't think he'll have one snap. I don't think he'll play against any teams, not one snap this whole year. He is coming off of a serious injury. He is extremely young. It would benefit, I almost said it would behoove. Y'all know that word, behoove. That's a college word. Let me go ahead and use it. Let me back up. it would behoove Emry Williams to actually use a red shirt this year. And then next year, don't even ask me who's going to be the starter next year, because obviously Cam Ward is not going to be there. If Reese stays and then we end up with Jacurri, Reese, and Emry, I'm leaning towards Jacurri, but oh boy, I don't know. That 2025 start is going to be crazy. Well, that's all that I got for you today. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you to everybody who did subscribe. You helped us reach a goal that typically takes almost 13 months. We did it in just a couple of months, about 2.5 months we did. So thank you. I appreciate that. We all did it, me and you all. I appreciate it because we on this journey together. So I appreciate that. Also, please do leave, those comments I was talking about earlier. I'm curious to know if this is the order that you think that it will be in, and if not, let me know what you think. One last thing in the comment section, let me know if you think Emry Williams will redshirt this year, and if you think that's a good idea or not. Curious to know what you think about that. All right, well, as Jay-Z once said, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I truly appreciate that. Take care. God bless. Peace.